And we're live. Welcome back to another Corona Geek here, where we talk all about mobile app development using Corona SDK. I'm your host, Charles McKeever, and today we are going to answer community questions. You know, I think we had this originally scheduled where we were going to have Corona staff on the show, and they were going to go through all these questions that people have been submitting, and so there was some concern as to how many seats we were going to have, whether or not there'd be enough space, because there's only 10 slots on the panel, and everybody wanted to be involved, and then we didn't know how many people from the Corona headquarters was going to be on, and then at the last minute they said, you know what, we have a schedule conflict, we're not going to be able to do it this week, can we push it to next week? And so it's the four of us today. Hey, so thanks for being here, guys.
We'll try and hold down the fort.
Exactly, hold down the fort. So, so I really appreciate it. I know some people had some things going on that weren't able to be here today.
Some people were going on cruises.
Well, I didn't want to call him out specifically, but I mean, I'm open to carrying luggage. Is all I gotta say. If you go on a cruise,
luggage.
open to being luggage. You absolutely got it, Ed. I am not ashamed.
It gets me on that cruise. Oh, man.
Well, anything, it's right. So anyway, this week is very interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on. We've got a lot of things to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. I mean, it's first of all, let's do announcements. We've got last week's show was SMS app installs and AdMob v2. So if you didn't get a chance to go check out Corona Geek number 100, the big 100, then go check it out. There was a lot of stuff going on there, and I'm gonna flip over, not literally, but I'm going to flip my screen over here to. Let me see if I can get rid of that. You guys see my screen? Start sharing.
Yeah.
All right, so there, if you didn't get a chance to see show 100, you can go over to youtube.com/Corona Geek. It's listed there, and I'm directing you to that because there are, like I said, 100 shows, and they're all listed out on the channel. So you can go over there, you can subscribe and get updates when new shows come out. There's a whole lineup there. We've got them broken out by year, which this is going on 2 years now, which is incredible. So go check those out, and there's also a lot of, if you go back in the archives here, there's also, we've pulled together some of the tutorials that people have put together out in the community. There's a whole Flappy Bird tutorial out there. There's a whole bunch of simple game type stuff just to kind of get you go up and running, and then there's a bunch of trailers out there of games that people have created. So it's definitely worth going and take a look at. Also,
it looks good.
I think so. I mean, it's coming along. It's something. It's a work in progress. You continually move things around, and
production is a lot of work. So congratulations to you, Charles. 100 shows is amazing.
Oh, yes. Thanks. I appreciate it. You guys have been amazing the whole way through. It's been awesome. And I don't remember who said it, but somebody was talking about doing the show 200. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. let's just jump to it. Next week we'll just do show 200.
I'm sure you'll be there sooner than you think.
Yeah, no doubt. So also in the community here is learning mobile app and game development with Corona. That's out. That's new. That's fresh. And I know that I got my email just the other day about getting the final version. So Brian, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Version is available. It's available as PDF, as an EPUB, as or Kindle Mobi format. You can download it through my site. I've also got it available on Apple. So if you want to get it through the Apple iBook store, you can get it through there. That it is current. It is not available through Amazon or any of the other stores. I might put it on Google Play eventually, but right now it's just Apple. I recommend my website. I'm able to get the updates to you a lot faster. I have control over being able to send out those free updates, whereas on Apple and Amazon and all those others, I don't have any control over that. So please buy from me.
Yeah, exactly. And if you go to the website, there's a download. You can download a free chapter, and all the sample code is there. So
yes,
I mean,
and also I've finished updating beginning mobile app development with Corona and mobile app development with Corona. Sorry, I've got a new kitten and he's noisy.
I was wondering what that was.
He wants a piece of turkey or ham, I think.
What happened to your voice, Brett?
He loves Corona Geek.
Anyway, back to the discussion at hand. The mobile app development and beginning mobile app development have all been updated. They're at version 1.7. That I originally published them back in 2011, and they're continuing to be updated on a regular basis, usually 3 or 4 times a year. They now have a new chapter on Graphics 2.0 and all the advanced features of filters and generators and all that kind of really cool stuff. And I'm working on getting the Portuguese version of the book updated. Should be hopefully available by the end of the week.
If I were just starting out, which book would I want? This one or the other one?
If you're just getting started and you have no previous or limited previous programming experience, I would go with the Learning Mobile App and Game Development because it teaches how to program. If you've programmed before in any language, if you understand what an if-then is and a do-while loop and what how a function works, then I would go with Beginning Mobile App Development or Mobile App Development.
Okay, so the distinction is your level of programming knowledge. Okay, good.
Yes, there's a lot of similar content between the books, though there's different games and different projects that I do between them. The basic content, all these books are designed to introduce you to using Corona and doing mobile application and game development. That was the goal. They're not intermediate or advanced books. They're how to use Corona and how to get started all in one place. Easy lookup, lots of hopefully good material. And Walter has been kind enough to give me a foreword for all the books. So Walter Liu's got the foreword in all 3 books.
Excellent. Well, thank you for taking the time to put that together. I know that's a lot of work, just assembling all the information and doing the examples and providing the code, making sure everything works. I mean, that's a big undertaking. So thank you for doing that.
And I'm starting on a new book that'll be intermediate to advanced on multiplayer, cloud-based Corona development. It'll be several months before it's ready to go, unless somebody wants to send me a large chunk of money so I can quit my day job and work on that full time. But I am working on that, and we'll have some advanced features available for anybody that's wanting to learn that type of material.
You guys remember Office Space? Remember Office Space where he says, he said, what would you do if you had $1 million? And he said, I'd do nothing. And the guy says, well, you don't need $1 million to do nothing, you know. I think you just sell all your belongings and go bohemian and spend all your time in coffee shops writing these books, and good things will happen.
Don't forget to send the divorce papers when your wife gets rid of you. Forgot that.
That's funny. Well, thanks for that. Yeah, we'll look forward to that coming out. And we've been talking here about Corona plugins for the past few shows, and we've been saying that Gremlin Interactive had a summer sale going on, and everything was half price. And I kept saying, you just go out and buy them because that they're half price, and you can collect the whole set. And why not? Because get them while they're cheap, right? Which they're still very cheap. But I just want to come on and say, I told you so. Because now they're not on sale anymore. They're back to their original price, which even at combined, if you bought all 4, got the whole set at their full price, you're still only like $120. So it's still very, very affordable. But the summer sale is over. But you can go check out gremlininteractive.com. Go look at their plugins, and if you're looking for any type of commerce using Chartboost or Amazon or PayPal or anything like that, they have them there. They've already developed them, and I think $30 for a plugin is, I think that's a steal. I mean, all the work that goes into that, and you're going to use it to make money anyway. Go check it out. Also, speaking of things that are awesome,
Charles, that is purchased through their website or through the Corona website?
Oh yeah, thank you. That's good clarification. You're going through Gremlin Interactive. They're providing the plugin. They're providing the support for it. There's no limit on how many apps that you can use the plugins in, and so you
So this is the gremlininteractive.com website that we're looking at.
Yeah, you are supporting gremlininteractive.com and their efforts to create plugins for Corona. So,
awesome.
Yeah. Also, Mod Localize is out, so if you're looking for a way to localize your applications, then you can do that using Chris's mod_localize module. So, Chris, is there anything I'm leaving out there? Can you tell us about it?
No, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to create a video tutorial on it soon. But even more importantly is the new releases of Coronium, the latest release, if that's okay if I talk about that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
It supports email attachments now, and pretty soon, within the next couple weeks, 1.9 will be out with WebSocket support. And I'm pretty excited about that because it actually allows you to interact with the server outside of Corona. So if you want to show off data or you need to use it just through a web page or any kind of WebSocket client, you'll be able now to utilize all of those API calls through that. So that'll be pretty cool. And then Dr. Burton, he's talking about multiplayer gaming. I'm working on a multiplayer server that's in Lua called Coronium GS. And I'm getting pretty far along on that, and hopefully we'll see some alpha of that soon as well. And I'm really excited about that. So that's that for Coronium.
You know, I think this is, I mean, one, you put on a very professional face here. The software is fantastic, but also the way that you present it is amazing. So kudos to you for that. I love the simplicity of this site. And I don't mean that like it's, I mean it in a very complimentary way, because here you have all of these things that are just, it's right there. You really understand your audience because you're putting the code right out in front of in the front, right, to see just how easy it is to implement and use into your development. And I think that's just a genius. I don't know. Is anybody helping you with that part of it, the marketing part of it, the communication part of it?
No, just coffee. That's it.
Just coffee. So you're like a Renaissance
Caffeine is helping me.
You're able to come up with the code and the ideas for this, and also be able to present and communicate your ideas effectively. I think it's,
I've been doing this
fantastic.
For like 20 years, so you start to kind of hone your skills a little bit. Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole goal. I've decided for myself. I see there's a lot of programmers that find things that are complicated interesting, and I think it's just because of the science of it. And for me, I've decided to go exactly the opposite. How much can I simplify? And I think there's a whole new wave of developers who aren't so much interested in the underlying code and get diving into all that, and are just want to make apps and just want to make create their vision. And so my goal from here on out is just to simplify this stuff for those kind of people. And it's not going to be for everybody, but I think there is a market for that.
Very cool. Yeah, I agree completely. I think you're right on the nail there, where it's simple. Simple is good. Getting things done. Getting things done over being proud of yourself for making something complicated.
Right.
Well, speaking of things that are complicated made easy, there's a new tutorial out for Physics Joint. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but Brent has been working hard on simplifying the documentation and making sure that the examples are easy to understand. And so he's put out a tutorial on it. And there's actually part 2 is coming this week. So if you've kind of read through part 1 and you're waiting for the sequel, it should be out this week as part of the weekly tutorials. But if you get a chance, go through it and check it all out, and let us know what you think. We'll put a link in the show notes, of course. Now, I want to point out one thing off the web here. There is, JAY is working on Desperado, which is a successor to Outlaw, his IDE for mobile development, and he actually put out a new video showing the alpha preview, and if you get a chance, go check it out. We'll put a link in the show notes, but if you can go over to outlawgametools.com, and he's got a lot of great resources over there. But I know that in the past we've talked about Outlaw and things like that. Brian, are you still you still using that? Have you kept up with the iterations as he's gone through?
You know, I go back and forth between Outlaw and Sublime. Outlaw is a fantastic tool. I love it as an editor. But Sublime's got some neat features as well. The perfect world would be the merger of the two. So I'm really looking forward to see what Jay does with Desperado, and as a successor to Outlaw. So
yeah, I agree.
If you haven't used it, download it. Get the at least Outlaw. I don't know. I haven't played with the Desperado Alpha yet. So, but you know, Jay's been a great member of the community. He's got some great resources out there, tutorials out there on, I think it's Udacity, for teaching mobile app development. I highly recommend his materials.
Oh yeah, I like his courses. I definitely like his. He's got a business course and a developing games course, and it's good stuff. So we'll put a link in the show notes. Be sure to check out his channel too. He's got a bunch of other videos. He does a lot of little tutorials and things that show you not only how to use that tool, but also how to do things in Corona and game development. He's been doing game development for a long time, so he's got a lot to share.
Now, Charles, I haven't had a chance to view this video yet. Are we talking about Composer API or Composer the GUI interface?
I don't know. The slide slide doesn't. I don't remember him saying anything about the Composer in there. But of course, I was listening as I was putting together notes. I'm not sure which one it is. I'm sure it's probably the GUI. I mean, the GUI, the API, because.
Okay. I don't know. Jay likes to jump into the GUI,
yeah.
So
yeah. Well, maybe so.
Really cool stuff here. Anyway, everybody should go and watch the video.
Yeah, go watch the video. It's only 3.5 minutes long, so he does a real good job of getting to the point and kind of get in, get out. So good stuff. Speaking of which, good tutorials. 2D animation tutorial using Spine for mobile apps. Now, our very own Jen Looper, she did a tutorial. It's over on SitePoint. We'll put a link in the show notes. But she goes through and she makes copious notes on the concepts of 2D animation and using Spine. And outputting something that is a finished Corona example, and
we had Spine people on the show a year and a half ago.
I know we need to bring them back because
we do, because the software's matured so much. They're doing so many great things with Spine.
Yeah.
I have Spine as a license. I encourage my students to use it. It's a great tool for the artistic person that wants to simplify the animation, make it easier to use in mobile app development, and it's also a great tool for the programmer that's not as artistic but has just been given some great artwork and they need to animate it. So it's a great tool. Works very well with Flash or Photoshop and layers. So I think it's a great tool. Check it out.
I like looking at this. Here's a quick little code example. I like looking at the code, in Lua and going, you're using something on a pretty advanced tool like Spine and being able to manipulate objects and create these complex structures. But at the end of the day, when you start working with the code in Lua, it's still very readable, very easy to understand, and I think they did a great job of like Chris was talking about earlier. Keeping things simple and just being true to the to Lua and how easy it is to work with.
We've got two primary packages that we have as Corona developers for making animations and games. One is Texture Packer, but that's if you've got an animator and simply go through and draw each specific piece, just like the little blue jay that Jen's got there on the graphic. It's but the other tool is Spine that we have available to us, and they're both great tools. Support the community, because using these tools dramatically speeds up how quickly you're able to create the mobile application development and get your game available and not spend weeks and weeks just trying to get everything perfect. If you got these tools, you're going to save yourself a lot of time.
Right. Yeah. The one thing that I keep coming back to that excites me about Spine is the idea of being able to programmatically change the character. I mean, when you're talking about this blue jay here, the movements of the character are pretty much fixed. I mean, you might be able to skip a couple of frames or be creative in that way, but with Spine, when you're mapping up all the bones to all these different data points, you can manipulate it and get a whole different range of emotion expression from the character that you might not be able to get something that's just a sprite animation. So
right. And as a professor of game development, the tools like this make such a huge difference. I show the students how to do things like what Jenny shows with the Blue Jay and what was just on the screen on how to make simple sprite animations and the traditional way of doing it. Spine takes it to the next generation, which is usually used with 3D modeling when you've got bone sets and movements and things like that, but they're applying it to 2D, and it really can dramatically speed up the complexity and the set of animations that you're able to do with your sprite animations. It's going to up the overall quality of your final project.
And speaking of complex, Flappy Birds is back. Oh man, Flappy Birds is back, but this time it's multiplayer. It's multiplayer, and it's only on Fire TV. Have you guys read about this yet? Have you seen?
I haven't seen that. So you'll be ready to destroy your TV instead of your iPad.
I guess so. There was some speculation. I mean, people kind of said, why did he go for Fire TV? Because apparently right now it's only on Fire TV. So there was some speculation that maybe there was a deal was done or something. Maybe Amazon paid for that.
Amazon's got deep pockets. I'm not saying they paid for anything, but
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't
nothing wrong with it if they did, but
what's that? What's that, Ed?
And you got to have that killer app that everybody.
Well, I think so. We're definitely talking about something that took the internet or the world, I guess, by storm, and so it's certainly going to be something that's noteworthy, I guess, when it comes back. And now, I guess, if you can play it, with your friends, and you can do it in a setting that's more, I don't know, console based, or I don't know. I think it's a great idea. I mean, and I'm glad to see the developer bring the game back, because there was nothing wrong with it, and it was actually doing exceptionally well. So I would love to see him bring it back to the original platforms. Bring it back to Apple. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to watch how that progresses. Speaking of Apple is also, they're publishing are putting online their CDN. So essentially, we'll be able to get faster downloads of their stuff. So right now, I think it's
if you have Comcast.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's a whole net neutrality thing going on, and are you noticing that there's the service providers, the mobile providers, are actually saying, "Hey, if you pay an extra $5 a month, you can get unlimited streaming of one music service." Have you seen these commercials?
No, I haven't seen those.
Yeah, they're starting to say, "Hey, you can do if you pay an extra $5 a month, you can get access to." Like certain data will be forgiven on your plan. So if you're let's say you're on a 10 gig plan and you do a lot of Spotify, then if you pay a little extra fee, then they won't count that traffic against your data plan. So
that'd be nice.
It sounds nice.
My 150 gigabyte.
So it's such a mixed bag, though. I mean, just the idea of it just starts out one thing at a time, right? And then next thing you know, you're like, it's a benefit to the consumer right now, but I'm really afraid, of what that's going to be like eventually.
Yes.
Oh, you want access to Facebook at all? That's $100.
Oh, you want Netflix? Oh, that's going to be an extra $10 a month. And you want there's some. There's some shady things going on. Net neutrality. Don't vote for anybody that's against it.
Yeah. Well, Apple's coming out with their $100 million CDN. So essentially, what they're trying to do is they don't own the last mile to the customer, but they are trying to speed up the service. Right? They have the platform, they have the store, they have the they have the software and the hardware. So they're trying to make sure that the overall experience is good, and they're doing this in advance of the next launch, which is going to be a big one, I think, and then there's going to be iOS 8 as well. So for right now, it's not clear as to whether or not this is going to be just for delivering the software, or if it's going to be for the Apple App Store or what. But I could swear that I've noticed the downloads on Apple on apps has become faster in just the last few days. And I think this was actually reported on Friday that this was what was going on. So
hey,
we'll
Charles,
see.
You've seen this comic, right?
No, which one? I don't have the.
My screen.
I don't have that screen up. Hold on. Where is it? Hold on. Nope, that's not it. You're here somewhere. You're here somewhere. You're on one of these tabs somewhere. Let me move this over.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Little bit of that.
That's great.
Let me see. Let me see your screen. Over the head screen. Oh yeah. What is that? Yeah.
That's what you're looking for in the future.
Oh well, yeah, exactly. Well, think about it though. I don't know about you guys, but we have Netflix and we have YouTube, and we don't do cable. We don't do cable. We don't do satellite. We don't do anything, right? So these, so the cable providers have, they've lost. I'm sure they've lost a lot of business. I mean, they're not really talking about it, but yeah, we do everything through the internet now. So
I do too. I've unplugged as
cut the
they
cord.
say.
Cut the cord.
Yeah, and they were, if you think about it, they were, what? We're talking $150 a month, for cable services.
And now I'm reevaluating my DSL for a faster service. 3 megabits is not fast enough. I feel like I'm in a third world country here.
So it's I don't know about that. Actually, that's. I would say that we're actually behind in a lot of ways.
Yes, we are.
We're behind. I mean,
That's what they say, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Not all of us can live in Austin either, or Kansas City. So.
Well, hopefully they'll eventually get the whole Giga thing worked out here, at least in my area.
Yeah, what are you running at?
Yeah, I don't know. It varies. It's supposed to be 50 meg, but I don't know. Well. We need to get to our questions, so I got a few more things here I want to talk about. One of them is Microsoft is suing Samsung. Have you guys been seeing this story?
Well, that's been going on. Which lawsuit are we talking about now?
Yeah, well, this is a good point. So Microsoft suing Samsung over not paying royalty payments. So back in 2011, they signed an agreement for Samsung to use Microsoft technology in their Android handsets, and apparently that was, everybody was happy, and then Microsoft went off and bought Nokia, and Samsung said, whoa, wait a minute, you kind of double dipping, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but they didn't like it, and they said, we're gonna just not pay, right? And some people say it's a kind of a bargaining tactic that they want to renegotiate the contract or whatever, because basically Samsung's handset sales have, I don't know, like tripled or over the last few years, and so they're everything that they pay to Microsoft goes up along with those sales. So if their sales triple, then the amount of money that they pay to Microsoft triples, right? So it's a big deal. I just think it's funny to see Microsoft's revenue flow tied to Android, even though they're still trying to get Windows Phone off the ground and get support for that. And I mean, kudos to them. They have their finger in everything. So anyway, it's an interesting story. I thought I'd just bring it to light. You guys can read about it. We'll put a link in the show notes.
And did anybody else see the article about the maturing of the mobile application environment? That we talked about it several weeks ago. I'm assuming they listened to our show and did a news article about it.
No, I didn't see that one. Where was it published?
Yeah, I'll have to look it up and get you the link.
Okay.
But Jen had posted it as well. So, but there was a link that came out through a news article about the maturing of the mobile app environment, and that we're getting, it's not the wild, wild west anymore, that we're now seeing a maturity. You've got to spend more time. You can't just simply throw some junk out there and make $1 million. You've got to actually put some work into it and create a mobile app that is going to be worth looking at, worth showing, and people are going to want to purchase or play so that you can make your revenue.
Well, this is a perfect segue to something I wanted to bring up on the show, and that is what I'm calling
showerme.com.
What I'm calling domain diving. Kind of like
yes.
dumpster diving, when you're looking for, you're looking for junk, other people's junk to turn into something. And I don't know where this came from. I don't have a segue other than the fact that you said this is, the maturing of the platform.
Maturing. Okay, good.
But I was thinking I know what it was. I was watching this special on Elvis, and how Elvis came out at a time when people didn't do sexually explicit moves, right? So his hip gyrations were a big thing, and how today that's become so commonplace, and it's just sort of like what we, like you say, a maturing of our perspective and how we handle information that's coming in. So then I got to thinking, well, there's a lot of things that we can do with apps, but we don't do, right? Because some things are difficult, some things are taboo. And then I thought, what about a shower app? I mean, there's all these social apps, right? All these social apps are popping up. Everybody wanting to give their location and their status and all that stuff like that. And then I was like, what if you had like a shower app?
There's just so many ways this could go wrong.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that.
You're not feeling the love on that?
I'm a little worried for your safety.
So, yeah, I know. So, there's it's complicated. I grant you, okay? But if you just explore the idea for a moment, because sometimes we shut ourselves down, right? We say, well, we couldn't do this, it's technically that, lawyers this, whatever, people, trolls, whatever. But if you just go and explore an idea, sometimes you can come out with some interesting things. So I went to Google, and not Google, GoDaddy, and I went shower.me, right? Because I'm thinking that's a very short domain, it's right to the point. It's taken. Which I think is comical. I'm like, sometimes...
This may be a not-for-safe website, so you might want to check that out.
Yeah, there's definitely. Yeah, you're on your own there. I'm not going to the domain to check it out, but
that's a good idea.
But here's the thing that I think we should do. I think we should every week. I think we should come up with ideas for apps, and then we should go and see if the domains are available. Because I went and looked up shower.me. That's taken. Showerapp.me is available. Showerapp.com is taken. So it's just very surprising sometimes to see the things that are taken. You're like, what are people doing with these domains? I don't know.
They're domain parking in this case.
Yeah, I guess so, probably. And just while we're here, one reference is, and I haven't used the site, but I don't know, Chris, you might be able to throw in on this, Gandy.net. If you want
favorite.
Is it? Yeah. If you want
it's a great site. The best pricing that you can get for iOS, for sure.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, if you go to some other sites, they're like $100 or more, and I think this is like $35 for
$39, and their system is clean, easy, and simple, just in and out.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of GandyNet.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what you used for Coronium, right? Coronium.io.
Yep.
I love their title.
It's great. Their tagline's ridiculous.
Pretty much sums it up, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
Just get right to the point.
All right, well, let's get into our questions. I'm sure we're going to probably run out of time, but that's okay because we're going to be back here next week with some of the Corona staff, and whatever questions we don't answer this week, we will answer next week. And some of these questions, I pulled out 21 questions that we could potentially answer here on the panel, and then some of the questions we will repeat next week with the Corona staff. Does that make sense? So we actually have more questions than these 21. So we'll try to make it through them as quickly as we can. So the first question, and I tried to order these, something that kind of made sense. So we'll just see how the flow goes. But the first question was, who or what would you say the top competitors for Corona are? So on the panel here, what do you guys think? What do you think about that? I have my thoughts. I'll share in a moment. But what do you think?
Well, I put Unity on the list.
Yeah, Unity's obvious. Love is a free framework that's Lua based. That's very similar to Corona as Guider OS, and I don't know how they pronounce it, but Moi or MOAI, I think it is another Lua based framework.
Mm-hmm.
You can also count Cocos to the X and what's called libgdx, which is Java, but it's also for 2D development.
Yeah, specifically for Lua, that's the ones I would think.
I'm gonna poo-poo those ideas.
Yeah, definitely. There's no right or wrong answer here.
But I call them Guideros. What'd you call them? Guideros?
I think it's Guider OS, but I'm not sure.
OS. Okay,
It's like the last name or somebody who made it, or the couple who made it.
I've tried to experiment with several of the ones you guys have mentioned, and I just don't feel like maturity-wise and usability-wise that they're as easily accessed as Corona. And I'm not trying to plug Corona here. I'm just saying, top of my head, if we really want to get harsh or whatever, what's the right word for this, judgmental on who's easier to use and who's easier to get into, the only one that I can think of, and it's not because I said it, is Unity, because Unity's got such a great tool set. But they're also harder to get into, much harder to understand to start with than Corona.
Yeah,
Yes, I completely agree with Ed.
I think that's a fair point. I mean, to call it out and say who are the competitors, there's a lot of competitors, but they're not all doing the same things the same way. I mean, even within those people
This is
who
an
are named.
apples and oranges type situation on a lot of these. Whenever I'm talking to students or groups of people that are looking at what kinds of games or mobile apps they want to develop, I always tell them, look at what's available, what tool set are you bringing to it, what experiences are you bringing into it, and evaluate what the best tool is. In my opinion, I'm continuing with Corona. Yes, I've got 4 years of time invested in Corona, but I'm constantly evaluating the marketplace and seeing what's going to be the best tool for me to be able to develop my mobile apps and my mobile games. And at this point, for 2D based or 2.5D based games or apps, Corona is still my go-to system.
Yeah, I mean, I went through all those other ones first just to get to Corona, so, yeah, I agree 100%. I think competitors maybe is, it's more, I think, is what are the other frameworks that are very similar that people look at,
Yeah, you're really talking about other things that can compete for your attention.
Because it is true.
And now with the basic and starter.
Go ahead,
Chris.
Oh, I was just saying, I agree with you that it is kind of comparing apples and oranges in a lot of these frameworks.
Yeah, and now with basic and starter, a lot of people were complaining about the price. It was expensive to get into Corona, but with the basic and the starter packs available, there's really no excuse for holding off. I'm going to have over 100 students using Corona this fall semester. Most of them will be using the starter system. A few will be using Pro or Basic, but most will be using Starter, and they're going to be able to do everything that they need to do for the class. And I'm expecting to see 50 apps published by Christmas.
Yeah.
One thing I said that was wrong was when I poo-pooed your idea is part of my evaluation is based on a bias, and my bias is experience with Corona. Now I'm sure that if somebody had picked up Guider OS or what was the other one?
Love is the other big one.
Yeah, Love.
Love doesn't do mobile. It only has an official port for Android, and that's all.
Sergey mentioned. What'd you mention?
libgdx.
Yes. So if I had started with those and gotten as far along as I have with Corona, then my bias would be to say, oh, well, this one's easy, so maybe I'm incorrect to poo-poo your ideas. I mean, the
Corona's
Guider
best
OS
of breed, there's no doubt.
They have a great bit of advertising. Their site looks professional. It seems like something to draw people in. So, I guess what other metrics could we use as far as competitors to say that they're competitive?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I mean, I was like Chris. I evaluated all the different options that were out there at the time, and they all did something different in a different way, and it just came down to I liked the way that Corona did its thing, and the way that it had opportunities for expansion later on.
I also came from an ActionScript background, so for me, getting into Corona was much smoother than some of the other languages or some of the other frameworks.
Yeah.
The only problem with Corona is that it's not open source. If it was open source, we would do much more stuff with it. But of course, it's not possible because Corona would not be able to get enough money for development.
Yeah, which there's an argument there for. I mean, there's other platforms that are open source and things like that, which is great. But
there's trade-offs.
There's trade-offs, right? I mean, the simplicity that goes into Corona, like Chris was talking about, making something as easy to use as possible is a lot harder than just making something to use. So anyway, I think it's not an apples to apples kind of conversation, but it's good to know that there are other tools out there as well. So. Well, one of the questions was, how large is Corona Labs, and how many people are in the different departments, and do you all work in one office? And I think this is an interesting question. It comes up a lot. I think that first of all, the answer is 14, if I've counted correctly. There's roughly 7 engineers. There are roughly 4 support-related type people. 1 web guy, 1 admin person, and 1 business person. I'm using air quotes, you can't see them, but 14 people, and some of them are in Palo Alto, and some of them are in different locations. So some people work remote. We've got people, all over the world. So it's interesting to see a product like Corona be produced by a handful of people. It's why I'm so amazed with what Chris does with Coronium. When you look at it, you're like, wow, this must be a team of people. and we all know it's Chris.
Yeah, it's caffeine. We all know it's coffee.
So it's amazing what can happen with 14 people, and I think a lot of times people take that for granted. They think that it's a big, it's like Adobe or something. It's like some big corporation, and
yeah, that's impressive. I would have guessed more.
Yeah, right. And I think you would be right in thinking that there's more, but there's not. And so, and especially when you get down to it, and you're like, okay, well, look, there's 7, maybe 8. Depending on how you classify people, 7, maybe 8 engineers, and each one of those guys has a job. Oh, I'm actually forgetting 1 person. So there's definitely 8 engineers. So there's 15 people. Sorry, 15 people. 1 person just popped in my head that I forgot. So and each person has a responsibility. They have a particular piece of it. I mean, they all work together to solve a problem, right? Cross-functional type, skill sets and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you're really still talking about, there's 1 person who's a go-to for 1 piece of the conversation, which is amazing.
Yeah, very cool.
Ed, this was your question. Ed had a question about, wasn't this your question, or did you just comment on this question? I wasn't really sure. You asked about the health of the community.
That might be my question, yes.
Okay.
I've been feeling pretty good lately, but thanks.
So do I have to elaborate on what healthy means?
I've kind of got a rash on one
Appreciate
side.
your concern.
Actually, I think that's the simplified version of my question, is it not?
Yeah. I wasn't sure of it. How much?
By the way, Chris, we're going to have to mute you now.
All right.
Well, there was other parts to it, and I wasn't sure how much of it, you wanted on a slide.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Well, just a secret question: will Corona support Health Kit from iOS?
No, so you think that's like a subliminal question? How healthy is the community? No, I think that's
it's the community that I think draws a lot of people to Corona. You go to the forums, and people are friendly and helpful. Occasionally we get some trolls on there, but for the most part, it is a very healthy, vibrant, helpful community.
I think that you should evaluate that with any tool. right?
Yes.
What does the tool offer?
Look at the forums.
How easy?
Helpful are people? Are they simply saying figure it out, or that's a stupid question, or things like that? You don't get that in the Corona community. You might get, hey, this has been answered someplace else. Why don't you go look at this? There's always the people that won't search for an answer, but for the most part, the Corona community is very helpful, especially for people that are just getting into it or just getting started with doing their mobile app development. There's a lot of patience exhibited.
So, okay, that's good. But one factor of healthy that I was also asking or wondering about is when I evaluated. So I evaluated Corona, and part of my evaluation before I chose it 2.5 years ago or so was how healthy is the community. And for me, what I was looking for was how many posts am I seeing per day, what category are the posts in, and then a little bit of demographic analysis to sort of like temper that number. So when I say that, what I mean is how many people seem like they're new, how many people seem like they're intermediate and advanced, and how are these people engaging each other. And I think the reason I asked this question is I see in the forums that there is still activity, and it is up and down, but it seems to be a little bit less than what I was used to a year ago, and so I wonder what's going on with the community as far as using the forums and engagement there.
You think maybe
they're buying my book?
They're buying. Yeah, resources are becoming available now. You think that some of that is, like you say, people have because Corona itself is not that old, and you think that people have come in to the community and maybe got up to speed.
Some of them.
I agree with Ed. I think that after they released some of these free versions, I saw just kind of a different demographic start coming in the forums.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I'm glad Chris said that because I was going to venture that, just to posit an idea, that maybe we've got a bunch of new, young, inexperienced, or whatever users, and this is not being negative, not trying to be negative anyways, but they're asking questions which are maybe making other people leery of like going in and answering or getting involved or whatever.
Yeah, I would agree.
This question led to my cranky question later, which I don't know if we'll get a chance to go to.
Well, I think, Ed, what you're trying to say, if I can paraphrase, I think is that sometimes the questions are really hard to follow and answer, and so therefore nobody responds to it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Right.
I've seen some of those. I've seen some of those, yeah.
I've seen more than a few posts in many communities, not just the Corona community. Hey, will somebody make this game for me?
Yeah.
That's just not going to go over well, or the challenge version of that, I'll bet you can't come up with a way to do X, and it's like, yeah, I bet you I'm not going to do it for you.
You're right. No, I know you said that, Brian, is kind of a pseudo joke or whatever, that your book was out and stuff like that. But I do know that people hang out in the forums, but they also hang out on IRC.
Yes.
And there are resources now, like your book, and and a lot of great
Corona University, which you've done an amazing job with. I have my students reference that all the time.
And there's a lot of great tutorial community tutorials who've come out and stuff like that. So maybe I don't know. Maybe the need to hang out in the forums is not as much as it was before. I know personally I am not a forum person. I would only go to the forums if I absolutely had a question that I needed to get answered.
That's something I considered.
Yeah, I used the forums a lot when I first started, so maybe it's just once you're up to speed, you kind of aren't checking in as much. I don't use them as much now, for sure.
So what I'm hearing is we feel like it's still pretty healthy, but people may be getting up to speed, not using the resource. There are new users, which may be causing difficulty for people to answer questions, as far as the way they ask their questions are hard to answer or understand. And then also there are other channels which may be getting more utilized now, IRC and other forum-based. What's the
even
big
block-based?
Say that again, please?
Your resources, and a lot of people are blogging too. So the developers, I think, are putting more stuff out on their sites as well.
I could just be too old school, man. I'm a forums-based guy.
You're getting old, Ed.
Maybe if forums were reorganized in something more like a Stack Overflow, maybe it would drive more attention to them.
Yeah, Stack Overflow is getting an awful lot of the forum.
That's what I was going to say. Stack Overflow is starting to take some of the questions. I've gone there and seen questions, which really blew my mind.
Yeah. I know Rob and Brent, who spend a lot of time in the forum, have mentioned that they monitor Stack Overflow as well, just because they know that people aren't going to all ask the questions in the same place.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
I don't understand that, though. I don't understand why you would go to a non-dedicated forum.
Well, but Stack Overflow is that programmer resource that so many of us have been using for years and years and years. I think that shows the healthiness of the Corona environment.
They can get in Stack Overflow.
Yes.
I see. Okay, interesting. Yeah,
I would agree with that.
I'm on my quick search now. I don't answer very many questions there, but yeah.
Well, you should, because I read an article the other day that says that's where you show your muscle. That's where you prove that you know what you're talking about.
I can show my muscles right now.
With your pants. Save that for shower.
When you walk into a job interview, you need to have a LinkedIn profile and a Stack Overflow history.
Some of them ask for open source projects and all that.
Oh yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that before. People
they want to see some stuff on GitHub, man.
Let's see your code. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next hard question.
All right. Has Corona ever considered adding an asset store feature like the one Unity has?
Hey, who asked that?
I like that question. That's an awesome question. I didn't write it.
We'll let the guys from the Corona staff, throw in on this next week. But what do you guys think of just the idea of having something like that?
That would be great. I've seen that on Unity, being able to get those resources at a very reasonable price. Right now, if I'm looking for graphics or sounds or something like that, I'm on Google, and it would really be nice. I realize they would probably have to add a dedicated person to just doing and overseeing a project like that, but it would be a nice resource as a developer.
Yeah, you raise an interesting point, and that is that once you create something, it's like having a child. You don't just have the child and then drop them off at the local fire department or whatever. You have to care for them, and it's a lifelong sort of life cycle sort of thing. And so in some of the conversations that I've overheard, it really comes down to, should we, can we? Kind of questions, as opposed to, is it a good idea or not? Sure, absolutely, it's a great idea. But you have to, once you create it, it's out there, you have to support it.
It seems like kind of a large undertaking for 14 people. There's just so many different things involved in that. Yeah. But obviously, it's very successful for Unity.
Yes.
You're right, and I think that's the part that everybody gets excited about, is the idea that it would be another revenue stream, and it would be great for developers, and all that. So
I'm just afraid that asset store would start growing of third-party libraries, third-party widgets, which would be nice looking but really crappy inside code-wise. So
I think it would have to be curated, and that's why the need for a dedicated person to oversee a project like that.
And if they close the source,
don't want this to be Google Play
for their libraries, there would be no means to fixing that. And it would be ideal if every library that goes to this asset store would be profiled, would be code reviewed, but there's a lot of work. It's like you will have to, pay to Corona like $50 to make a code review of entire library.
Yeah, there would definitely be a lot of logistics to it. You're absolutely right. I mean, just the manpower alone, and then the business model and the logistics, but
infrastructure, everything.
Yeah, infrastructure, everything. I know that
Brain right that we don't want Google Play of asset store.
I think that we as a community should dedicate Ed to creating the asset store.
That's good.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Round you out.
That's awesome.
If I get paid to do it.
All right. So
one point as well for forums is that Corona is international, and not many people can actually speak English, so they're not on the forums because they can communicate in English well.
Good point. Definitely good point.
It's told me one of the non-so-good English speakers just now that watches our stream. He's from Russia as well.
No, it's definitely it's definitely a consideration. I mean, I know to Ed's point that some of the questions that have come in are hard to answer, not only just because of the communication of the idea, but also just language differences and the way something is expressed, and that makes it difficult to give a reply.
We have a pretty, let's say, reasonably sized Russian community in Russian Facebook, which is called Kontakte.
Well, I tell you what, that's another good point that a lot of people have gone to Facebook for. There's a Corona group in
Corona
Facebook.
Indie developers. It's very active.
It's very active, and they do not only just technical help, but also promotion and things like that. So
we help one another.
Yeah, so Facebook is a great resource for those types of things.
Not just Stack Overflow.
No, not just Stack Overflow. All right, so somebody asked, when's the next version of Corona Starter? When will it be released? And I think, of course, to be fair, some of these questions I think came out just before the release came out. So we've been asking for questions for a week or so, a couple of weeks. So there's a new public release as of this recording. You can go download it and check it out. It does have support for AdMob v2. I'm pretty sure that you can use Corona Viewer in it, and particle effects. So if you haven't already, go check that out. It's definitely a good resource. And will it be possible at some point to publish Corona SDK apps to HTML5? If so, yeah, you can now. If so,
it's already there.
Yeah, it's already there. It's one of these questions as to what does that mean? Publishing Corona to HTML5. What does that mean? I think it means different things to different people. And we've already seen, Sergey, you before it was even really out, you kind of reverse engineered and had it up on the web.
It's very limited, but you can make something simple.
Is audio in yet?
No audio. No audio and no JavaScript interactions and no networking.
Okay.
So very limited.
Yeah.
So it's limitedly there.
Yeah.
So are they using one of the the JavaScript VM or the Lua VM that I've seen recently? It runs in the web. Are they using something like that?
They're compiling something, right? They're compiling something to JavaScript. I'm not sure what, but it's compiled.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's there today. I think what we're talking about really, the spirit of this question is more to when will we be able to do all the other things you guys just mentioned. So we'll bring that question back around next week and see if Walter and the crew can give us some kind of insights as to what's going on there. Oh, here's a question. I definitely want to cover this one before the end of the show today. Someone asked, is it feasible or is it actually preferable to build an app per device even though Corona SDK is designed to publish to multiple devices in one touch? So the question is really asking, I can create one code base and I can publish to Android, I can publish to Apple, but should I just create a project that's specifically Apple, specifically iPhone 5, specifically iPad?
Well, what do you want?
Well, I think okay. So their question kind of goes on. It says, "Can I build to multiple devices without feeling as though I'm developing to multiple devices? Is Corona?" Oh, and then they finish off with, "Is Corona just on the shoreline of its intentions or potential?" So I think what they're trying to ask, and the question was much longer, and I kind of pared it down. So there's some pieces of information missing here, but I think what they're trying to say is that if I were going to publish an app on iPhone and let's say an Android tablet, would I need two separate applications, two separate code bases in order to make it feel like I have, platform-specific apps, or could I create it all in one code base? What do you guys think about that?
I don't quite understand the question. Why would you want to separate?
Is that the point of Corona? I mean, isn't the point to be able to work in one code base and have it?
Right. And I did reply to this person because they did send this through questions at coronageek.com. I think that was the email. Anyway, and I did reply and say, look, the short answer is yes. You could do that. You could have a project for iPhone. You could have a project for Android. But you would, and then maybe there would be some differences, right? Maybe you could get some specific config file stuff or some specific build setting stuff, or maybe put in the dimensions for just that device, right? You could get granular, in a project to just a specific device. However, you would wind up with kind of the 2080 rule, right? You would wind up with two code bases, two almost identical copies of your project, and maybe only less than 20% of your project would be different. Maybe even less than that. Maybe 2% of your project would actually be different. So you'd be maintaining two identical sets of code for very little benefit. So I think the answer here, and you guys can tell me if I'm saying this incorrectly, is that no, you would just have one project. You would put in any form factor specific code, right? Any platform specific code that you had to account for in that project. So if it's running on an iPad, then it would run on iPad. If it was running on an edge case Android device that you needed to have very specific dimensions for, then you could do that in the code.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started,
adaptive applications is the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, I never used, for the first number of months of using Corona, I never published at all, so it didn't make no difference to me. It just was, hey, this is my Android code, and it doesn't make any difference, I guess.
I guess I'm still not understanding this question.
Well, they're just asking, obviously Corona is built so that you can publish to multiple platforms using one code base, okay? But they're saying, should I
maintain separate projects?
Yeah, should I maintain separate projects? If I have some edge case Android device, should I have a separate project?
Make your life difficult.
Right.
Only if they have to have significant. If they're not, yes, absolutely. If they're not really the same project.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. If you say have Android and iPhone applications with totally different look, like one mimics iPhone very closely, another one mimics Android, you should only maintain differences in that particular user interface code, and what's behind the user interface should be just the same code.
Right. Mm-hmm. If the burden of maintaining one app that runs differently on two different devices is a lot, then have two different projects and maintain the common parts, as Sergey says. But otherwise, go with one, because you're already going to face in the future. I get it all the time. I do a project, it starts off in one base, and then a client will say, yeah, okay, I really need this one thing for iOS. And I'm like, okay, well, I could sort of shoehorn that in there and then risk making a mistake and messing up the Android part of your app, some special thing that I'm not supposed to do for Android. And then I get two projects. So at the end of the day, months afterwards or whatever, I have two different projects, mostly the same.
And with the new exclude that you've got in build settings, that you can exclude certain files from being built or included in the build, with the ability to test on what kind of device this is being deployed to, there's really no need to or desire. I mean, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of cross-platform development to maintain separate projects for different devices.
Yeah, it's not my choice by any means. I would prefer to have a single piece.
Well, I tell you what, based on my unscientific eyebrow meter that I have on this end of the camera, the fact that you guys are like, I don't even understand the question. That tells me that no, you probably should not have multiple
Just say no.
projects. Yeah, just say no.
There should
I
be
think the
an
answer is
exit
yes, it's
counts
feasible,
those.
but don't do it.
Right. Yeah. Don't do it unless you absolutely had to for some reason. All right.
If you
Well, I
have a
think
gun pointed to your head, only this.
right. Yeah.
No,
some
we
other-
have to answer more questions. Just keep the show running for another hour. Let's go. I know what you're saying.
Heads on fire.
That's all right. Well, we have lots of questions here. We like I said, we have 21 questions here, so we could continue on, but I think we'll stop here for today because we're up on our time, and I know everybody's very busy, but we'll come back next week, and whatever we didn't address, we will pose to the Corona staff and the panel that's here, and then we'll actually throw in some other ones that are more headquarters specific. You know, I think, Brian, you've said on a number of occasions that, you know, if we can get Walter talking, then that he can say all those things that are covered by non-disclosure agreements, and and it makes for much more interesting, conversations. So, but I think these are great. I like that last question. I love the way that it just sort of kicked over the anthill, and you guys were just, debating the merits of it. So I think what we ought to do is, on a regular basis, maybe keep this going. Maybe we should keep the question. Yeah, because I really enjoy these questions. At first I was a little nervous as to how many questions we would get. If we would get, because sometimes people are self-conscious. They don't want to, they don't necessarily want to leave a question. They have a question, but they don't want to do it. But I was amazed at how many questions we got. So I think we should definitely do this on a regular basis. I think that's it. That's all. I just want to remind everybody that they can go over to Facebook. What?
I'm not letting the show in.
You're not letting the show in.
Hold the show hostage.
I tell you what, we will keep recording because we have plenty to do it, and I have plenty of hard drive space. Be sure to go over to youtube.com/Corona Geek. Subscribe there so you can get the video updates as soon as they come out. We try to get those out at the end of the day on Mondays, and also you can listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just basically go to your favorite social network and put in /Corona Geek. We're probably there. And if we're not, tell us about it, and we'll probably set up a profile and start publishing there just so we can be where you are. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great week. Happy coding, and we'll see you on Monday.
Cheers.
Oh, wow.
Bye.
Peace out.
Peace out.